I never met Joseph Jackson Gwatney. I actually got a phone call after he had already passed away asking me to help find family or anybody who could sign a release to make sure that he was brought to a funeral home.
Mr. Gwatney initially was transferred to our site. One of the red flags that was raised is that he didn't have family. And his friend, Mr. Hatcher, was there. We talked to Mr. Hatcher to see if maybe he had a medical power of attorney, and there was none.
I said, I know we don't have any insurance or anything like that, so it was mainly how we was going to get rid to do it. And I was trying to make plans before, but it didn't work out because he passed away before that.
And Gary had expressed to me that Mr. Gwatney's wishes were to be cremated. And knowing that, I knew it was going to be a lot more of a struggle to legally make sure that we were doing that the right way for him and honoring his wishes.
Tara really felt like, since we knew what Mr. Gwatney's wishes were, and that was to be cremated, that she was going to try really hard to make that happen.
You know, when Tara first called, I heard of an individual that was absolutely empathetic to his situation, but also desperate to find a resolution. And as I began to listen to her, what came out more than anything was compassion. Compassion that she had been working for 4 or 5 days to try to find a resolution. And you know, we work with hundreds of different individuals in different capacities of healthcare. And Tara stood out. She stood out as one that made the decision that she was not going to let no be the final answer.
I really didn't want to settle for anything less than what we knew Mr. Gwatney's wishes were, but outside of that, I really wanted him to have a dignified final chapter, and I still wanted to make sure we could get him cremated. So I contacted the friend that I had located, Gary Hatcher, and said, Gary, I need you to send me anything that you might have in paper to show me possibly what Mr. Gwatney's wishes were. If I can have it in writing, then everything would be okay. And he faxed me over quite a few documents, and it was, at the time, I was going through all the documents and I saw the paper that said honorable discharge, and as soon as I saw that, I knew that the story took a different turn. Kevin wanted to give him military honors and contacted the Marines, and once it got to the Marines, the story just took on a life of its own. And the Patriot Guard came, and different dignitaries came, and all different levels of service from every place in the military, and the entire funeral home was completely packed full of people who were there to honor a person that they never met.
My chapel holds well over 200, and we had a standing room only crowd that was literally lining the walls to be a part of the service.
I was so overwhelmed. I got up to speak and I looked out and I just felt the tears well up in my eyes because it was such an outpouring of just love and respect, and it was a humongous group of people who not only didn't know Mr. Gwatney, but nobody in that room really knew each other either.
She told me that it felt like that it was just like her own family members, there instead of just a person. And I think she just went out of her way to do something like that for him.
All of us have a story, and for every single person in that room, their story brought them to that place together, and something about Mr. Gwatney touched their lives, even though they didn't know him.
What we realized out of that day was Private Gwatney had family, and they were all there. Started with Tara, who became a dear sibling to him, all the way through contacts with us to be able to do the things necessary to get the service organized, and then his extended family of those that showed up to the service. He was honored that day, and he very well should have been, because one person had a vision, and that was Tara, who said, we've got to do things differently.